Jill cries and tells Billy that John isn't his father. The Young and the Restless, spoiler fanfiction/speculative Y&R story inspired by current storyline rumors. This is not a confirmed episode plot. The Abbott mansion had never felt so quiet. Billy Abbott stood near the window, staring out at the Genoa city skyline, while his mother Jill sat across the room. For several minutes, neither of them spoke. Billy had spent weeks chasing answers. First, there had been the mysterious documents connected to Chancellor. Then came the revelation that his late father, John Abbott, had once provided financial help that could potentially give the Abbott family an enormous claim over Catherine Chancellor's former company. Billy had become obsessed with discovering exactly what Jill had been hiding, and now Jill had finally asked him to come alone. No Jack, no Ashley, no Kyle, no lawyers, just mother and son. Billy turned around. "Mom, you said there was something I needed to know." Jill looked at him. Her eyes were already filled with tears. Billy immediately became concerned. "What happened?" Jill shook her head. "I don't know how to tell you." "Then tell me the truth." Jill closed her eyes. "The truth is exactly what I'm afraid of." Billy slowly approached her. "Is this about Chancellor?" "No." "Victor?" "No." "Then what is it?" Jill's hands trembled. Billy noticed. "Mom." Jill finally looked up. "There is something about your father that I've kept from you for your entire life." Billy froze. "My father?" Jill nodded. "John." Billy's expression hardened. "What about Dad?" Jill struggled to speak. Then the words finally came. "John Abbott wasn't your biological father." Billy stared at her. For several seconds he didn't even seem to understand what she'd said. "What?" Jill began crying. "Billy!" "No." He stepped backward. "No, you don't get to say something like that and then just cry." "I'm sorry." "You said John was my father." "I know. My whole life. I know. My entire identity is built around being his son." "I know!" Jill's voice broke. Billy stared at her in disbelief. "Then why are you telling me this now?" Jill couldn't answer immediately, because there was another secret, and this one was even worse. The secret Jill buried Billy walked toward the fireplace. He needed distance. He needed air. He needed something familiar, but nothing felt familiar anymore. "Who is he?" Jill looked down. "I don't know if you should ask that." Billy turned sharply. "Who is my father?" Jill whispered a name. Billy couldn't believe it. "What?" "I said I don't know if he is still alive." Billy's face went pale. "You know who he is?" "Yes." "And John knew?" Jill's silence answered the question. Billy's voice became quieter. "Dad knew?" Jill nodded. "John knew?" "Yes." Billy sat down. The revelation hit him differently now. If John had known, then Billy's entire childhood suddenly looked different. Every conversation, every argument, every moment of affection, every time John had called him son. Was it all real? Or had Billy been living inside a lie? "Did Dad love me?" Jill immediately answered. "Yes." Billy looked at her. "You're sure?" "Billy, John loved you more than anything." "Then why didn't he tell me?" "Because he believed being your father wasn't about blood." Billy swallowed hard. "That sounds like something people say when they're trying to make a lie sound better." Jill stood. "No, John never saw you as a lie." "Then what was I?" "You were his son, but not his biological son." Jill walked toward him. Billy stepped away. "Don't." Jill stopped. "Please don't touch me." Her face crumpled. "I deserve that." Billy shook his head. "You kept this from me." "I was terrified." "Of what?" "Of losing you. You could have lost me because you lied." "I know." "And now you're telling me when I'm already fighting half of Genoa City?" Jill wiped her eyes. I thought I could protect you. You can't protect someone by hiding their own identity. Jill had no answer. John's letter. Billy noticed an envelope sitting on the table. What is that? Jill stared at it. John's. Billy slowly picked it up. Why do you have this? He left it for you. Billy looked at the handwriting. He recognized it immediately. His father's handwriting. His hands began shaking. When did he write this? Years ago. Why didn't you give it to me? Because I was afraid. Mom, I'm done hearing that. Jill nodded. You have every right. Billy opened the envelope. Inside was a short letter. Jill watched him read. Billy's eyes filled with tears. John had written about Billy's childhood, about how difficult Jill could be, about how stubborn Billy was, about how much he loved his son. And then came the line Billy never expected. Blood doesn't decide who your father is. Love does. Billy lowered the letter. He couldn't speak. Jill began crying again. John knew? Yes. And he still called me his son? Every day. Billy sat down. For the first time since Jill's confession, the anger disappeared. Not completely, but enough for grief to take its place. I wish he were here. So do I. Billy stared at the letter. I need to know who my biological father is. Jill nodded. I understand. Tell me. Jill hesitated. The man was someone from my past. Who? Jill looked toward the doorway. Before she could answer, Billy heard footsteps. Jack appeared. He stopped when he saw their faces. What happened? Billy looked at his uncle. Jack. Jill immediately stood. Jack, you shouldn't be here. Jack's eyes narrowed. What aren't you telling me? Billy held up the letter. Mom says John wasn't my biological father. Jack froze. For once, the powerful Abbott patriarch had absolutely nothing to say. Jack learns the truth. Is that true? Jill nodded. Jack looked at her with shock. You knew? Yes. For all these years? Yes. And John knew? Yes. Jack took a deep breath. Billy watched him carefully. Did Dad ever tell you? Jack shook his head. No. Billy looked between them. So everybody knew except me? No, Jack said firmly. I didn't know. Billy looked down. Great. Jack approached him. Billy, listen to me. No, I need to know something. What? Am I still an Abbott? Jack didn't hesitate. You're my brother. Billy looked at him. That wasn't my question. Jack's eyes became emotional. You are an Abbott because John raised you, because he loved you, because you're his son in every way that matters. Billy looked away, but the question remained. Who was his biological father? Jill finally says the name. Jill knew she couldn't delay the truth anymore. She walked toward Billy. The man was connected to my life before John. Billy waited. His name was... She stopped. Billy's eyes narrowed. Mom. Jill whispered the name. Billy's expression changed completely. He had heard it before. He knew the man, and suddenly the possibility that this secret could affect his relationship with the entire Abbott family became terrifying. You're telling me he's my father? Jill nodded. Billy stood. This changes everything. No, it does. Billy, listen to me. You don't understand. I do. No, you don't. Billy's voice echoed through the room. If John wasn't my father, then what does that mean for everything? My place in this family? My claim to the Abbott legacy? Chancellor? Jill immediately realized where his mind was going. Billy, this has nothing to do with Chancellor. Doesn't it? No. If I'm not John's son, then the documents could mean something completely different. Jill shook her head. Don't let this become another battle. Billy stared at her. I'm trying to figure out who I am. The Abbott family divided. The secret couldn't stay buried. Within hours, Jack knew, then Ashley, then Kyle. Each reaction was different. Ashley was furious with Jill. How could you keep something this important from Billy? Jill didn't defend herself. I made a terrible choice. Kyle looked at Billy. Are you okay? Billy laughed bitterly. That's a funny question. Kyle sat beside him. Do you want to talk? No. Okay. Billy looked at his nephew. Actually, yes. Kyle waited. Billy showed him John's letter. Kyle read it silently. When he finished, his eyes were wet. Dad loved you. I know. He meant every word. I know. Then don't let this secret erase that. Billy nodded. I keep thinking about the first time I called him Dad. Kyle smiled sadly. You remember? Every detail. Billy looked at the letter. That's what makes this so confusing. Jill's confession. Later that evening, Jill and Billy were alone again. Jill finally explained why she had hidden the truth. She had been young. She had been frightened. Her relationship with John had been complicated. And when Billy was born, John chose to raise him as his own. Jill believed the secret would eventually disappear. It didn't. It simply grew heavier. I wanted you to have a normal childhood, Jill said. Billy shook his head. There was never going to be a normal childhood in this family. Jill almost smiled. That is true. Billy looked at her. Did John ever regret raising me? Never. Did he ever resent you? Sometimes. Billy nodded. That sounds like Dad. Jill smiled through tears. He loved you fiercely. Billy looked away. Then I don't want his memory destroyed. It won't be. I need to know the truth, Mom. You deserve it. And I need you to promise me something. What? No more secrets. Jill nodded. No more secrets. The DNA question. Billy knew there was only one way to settle the matter. He needed proof, not rumors, not old memories, not Jill's word. Proof. He told Jill that he wanted a DNA test. She agreed. But before the test could happen, something unexpected occurred. Billy received a phone call. The voice on the other end belonged to someone connected to the secret. Billy, you need to stop asking questions. Billy immediately became suspicious. Who is this? You know exactly who I am. No, I don't. You're getting too close. Billy hung up. He stared at the phone. Then he called Jack. We have a problem. A new mystery. Jack arrived quickly. Billy told him about the call. Jack's expression became serious. This means someone knows. Apparently. Do you think Jill's story is true? Billy looked toward the envelope. I don't know what to believe anymore. Jack placed a hand on his shoulder. Then believe this. Billy looked up. You are my brother. Billy's eyes filled with tears. No matter what the test says? No matter what. Billy nodded. For the first time, he understood something important. His identity didn't have to be decided by a laboratory report, but he still needed the truth, not for inheritance, not for Chancellor, not for revenge, for himself. The test, the DNA test, was arranged privately. Jill watched Billy sign the paperwork. I wish I could take this pain away, she whispered. Billy looked at her. You can't. I know. But you can stop adding to it. Jill nodded. I will. The sample was taken. Now they had to wait. And waiting was worse than Billy expected. Every hour brought another question. Who was his biological father? Why had John accepted the secret? Why had Jill waited decades? And most importantly, what would happen if the truth changed everything? The results arrive. Several days later, Billy received an envelope. He stared at it. Jill stood across from him. Neither spoke. Billy opened it. He read the result. His eyes widened. Jill immediately knew. What does it say? Billy couldn't answer. Jill walked closer. Billy? He finally looked up. The result confirms it. Jill began crying. Billy closed his eyes. For a moment he felt completely lost. Then he looked at John's letter. He picked it up, and something inside him changed. John knew. Jill nodded. He knew. Billy wiped away a tear. And he still loved me. Yes. Billy took a deep breath. Then that's what matters. Jill looked surprised. You forgive me? Billy shook his head. Not yet. Jill nodded. But maybe someday. I understand. Billy looked at her. I need time. You can have all the time you need. Billy faces his family. Billy called the family together. Jack, Ashley, Kyle, and Jill sat around the room. Billy stood in the center. I know the truth now. Everyone remained silent. John wasn't my biological father. Ashley looked heartbroken. But he was my father. Billy's voice trembled. He raised me. He protected me. He loved me. He believed I was his son even when biology said otherwise. Jack nodded. Billy continued. So I don't want anyone treating me differently. Kyle immediately said, We won't. Ashley stood. You're my brother. Billy smiled faintly. Jack approached him. And you're my brother. Billy finally allowed himself to cry, not because he had lost John, but because he realized he hadn't. John's love was still there. The final confrontation. Jill waited until everyone left. Billy remained behind. I have one more question. Jill looked at him. What? Why now? Jill hesitated. Because I saw what was happening to you. Chancellor? Yes. You thought the secret would hurt my claim? No. Then what? I realized you were becoming obsessed with proving yourself. Billy frowned. And? I knew you were chasing your father's legacy. Jill's voice broke. But I realized you didn't need to prove that you were John's son. Billy stared at her. You already were. He looked at the letter again. Then he smiled sadly. Maybe you're right. Jill stepped closer. Can I hug you? Billy hesitated. Then he nodded. Mother and son embraced. It wasn't forgiveness, not yet. It wasn't a perfect ending, but it was a beginning. What happens next? The revelation could have enormous consequences for Billy. His biological connection could raise questions about his place in Genoa City's powerful families, his future, and even the legal battles surrounding Chancellor. But the biggest change may be emotional. Billy no longer has to live trying to prove that he's worthy of the Abbott name. John's letter gave him the answer he needed. A father isn't defined only by DNA. He's defined by the choices he makes, and John Abbott chose Billy, again and again. Now Billy has a new decision to make. Will he expose the identity of his biological father to Genoa City? Will he confront the person who knew the truth all these years? Will Jack and Ashley stand behind him? And most importantly, can Billy finally forgive Jill? For Jill, the secret has finally escaped. For Billy, the truth has arrived. And in Genoa City, the truth rarely stays quiet for long. The next chapter could be even more explosive, because someone else may know exactly what Jill has been hiding. And if that person steps forward, Billy's entire understanding of his family could change once again.